Everyone gets wonderful. So we need to press. Got it.
This isn't a touch screen.
There we are. Well, welcome everyone. We're super excited to talk about our favorite topic, and that is the global perspective that we have as Impact here at Stockton throughout the globe. And firstly, I'm Mary Lou Galatino, and Tara Crowell have spent the summer of 2023 in two respective countries, Germany for Tara and South Africa for myself. And I think what's really important is to know that everyone either listening on Zoom or in this room has an opportunity to travel abroad and serve. And what happens, the number one message I want to share is that we get so much more out of our journeys than I think I contribute in so many ways. So, Tara, did you want to make any other opening comments?
Yes. So the little backstory on this is that this, for Mary Lou, is her second time doing a Fulbright, and she had done a Fulbright how many years ago? What was your
2014.
2014. So then fast forward to 2019, and so I'm going to put a plug in for Fawn, because we were going to go to Fawn we talked about it in May, and she said, I'm going to Fawn, come with me and I'll help you craft your answers to the questions, which is not a very extensive application process, because at first you think it is. Like, that was my first thing of, when am I even going to have time to apply for this, let alone to do it? But then we sat down, we pulled them up. It took one day of Fawn. I drafted it. We talked about things. We looked up resources. I then went home, did some more work, sent it to her. So this was May. I got my letter of acceptance in August. So that's how quick the process was that I got accepted to that. Since then, Donnie and I have talked on the beach, where we do our best work on the beach. We all do our best work on the beach when you come. So that's a little plug if you ever want to go to the beach in the summer. There's numerous times at Stockton that we do our best brainstorming while we're on the chairs on the beach. I said, Donnie, you need to do this. Like, you have so many specialties that you could offer to somebody. Fast forward, I sent you the application, you did it, and you have been accepted to a Fulbright Specialist. So well, that was the second part of it. That's like the second part of it.
Yeah, that second part today, because you could be on a roster for 5 years and not have a place to go. So that's where the art of networking takes place. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but let's go through what we have here in terms of thinking about logistics and thinking about the art of the application, because that is really the skill set that you bring to a country, to a particular region of the globe that is in need of your skill set. So I think that's the most important feature. Like, what am I uniquely poised to do in a way that I can contribute something that the people of a country need? And that's the first reflection.
Yeah. And to backpedal just a teeny little bit to specify, in case those of you who are here don't realize, there is the Fulbright Scholar and the Fulbright Specialist, because I feel like that's a distinction that most people don't know about. Because when I talk about Fulbrights, they immediately think I'm going to a country from 3 months to 9 months and doing a research project. And because I get the response of, oh, I could never fit that into my lifestyle. I'm like, oh, no, that's me either. I have 3 children. I can't do that either. So, but this is a Fulbright Specialist. Mm-hmm. So the specialist, like Mary Lou was saying, is what is your specialty that you want to go and basically offer them your services to share your specialty, is only 2 to 6 weeks. That is a very different commitment, and I think needs to be an important part of this thought process. Is I'm not having a research project that I'm going to go live someplace for 3 months to 9 months, or at least not yet. I mean, that's what I say in my life, at least not yet. But this is just a specialist, so I just wanted to get that out there.
And what's important about that is that this is where perhaps even as you're thinking about the application, simultaneously thinking about where you would want to be in the world. Because that's where connecting, cold calling, emailing, just do you need, and start to create a global connection and assessment of needs in just simply noticing conference proceedings, names of individuals that might have been on your organization's national conference that might have an international speaker that comes to the United States, that you could then reach out at the conference and begin the dialogue, because it's all about the dialogue.
Okay, and so again, you can totally tell that I'm the outcome statistician here. So I'm gonna put this in the basic thing. You have an open project list that you can get. It's very limited. You then have your connection. I think 9 times out of 10, you get the Fulbright with your connection.
Yes.
So there is that open project list, and they email you every month that it's there, and I used to look at it, and then it's not very long, and I would think, I'm really not, these aren't my specialties, and or it's not places that I would want to go to, or that I would feel like I could benefit them. So the 9 times out of 10, it's your connection. So what someone said to me very early on was, well, reach out to your international connections. And I had to laugh because I thought, I have 3 children and I don't have any international connections. I don't even know if I've been to how many conferences. I just really started going to conferences probably in the last like 2 to 3 years because everyone was old enough. But I did reach out to a connection through a presented at Penn State, a gentleman there that's from Wales that teaches in California. I reached out to him. He put me in connection with a woman in actually Australia. So I actually had one set up to go to Australia in public health for the summer of 2021, which of course then we know that COVID happened and that all fell to the wayside. Because of COVID, I did get an extension, and it was on my list, you know, as Donnie and I were talking about it, but I still I was like, I still haven't used mine. What happened was I dropped my daughter off at Virginia Tech to do an internship last summer with a colleague, and jokingly said, do you have any international connections? Because this thing's going to expire soon and I really want to use it. He goes, yeah, you've met her. She's in Germany. And I was like, by the time I left Virginia Tech, they had already responded back to me like, let's talk. Yeah, let's try to bring you here. So it could be as simple as that. So again, I really feel like that it's not a science, even though I'm, you know, a social scientist. This is not science. This is just perhaps that you reach out, and it all fell together. And it was funny because when I was there this summer, one of the people there goes, wait, you were supposed to go to Australia and you're here?
In Germany.
I said, wait a minute, like, are you almost like, are you disappointed? I was like, no, really, it all was supposed to work out the way it was supposed to work out. So
unlike my experience is that I did exactly what I said, reached out to a colleague that was missing the United States on an international conference and said, wow, you know, I'm really sorry to see that the HIV rehab intervention, we didn't have a panelist from the United States. And that's how the connection started. I asked a why question, and I have been with the same institution since 2014 for 2 Fulbright stints. So it's evolved because the specialist role is to give. So I did a curriculum review of their undergraduate physical therapy program because they were thinking about going to the DPT. So we analyzed all that. We did a threading of a course content analysis of their undergraduate PT program. And then I became a visiting professor. So I mean, because you are not doing research in this specialist. The caveat that Tara and I want to point out, if you're a scholar, you might be engaged in some level of research, but these 2 to 6 week intervals are really a skill that you're bringing to them. So we just want to make that distinction. And for me, given the curricular mapping that I did in 2014, there were areas of interprofessional engagement, which I did a lot of workshops in 2014, went back again in 2017. And this is actually my 6th time because I've been back for other reasons besides the Fulbright. Yeah. So when you create this kind of alignment, it might bring you to deep roots where I have in Johannesburg at the University of Witwatersrand. And then this last Fulbright was a realization that they don't have cancer rehabilitation. And that was really part of the training in all of 3 rural provinces. And that was amazing. The real bottom line, though, that I see in the second Fulbright was realizing I wasn't just gonna give a 6-week experience of training. I needed to have faculty and a team that were boots on the ground that were gonna continue this, because I'm only as good as my successors, I say. And that was the goal, and so I'm continuing to work with them from here. So it really is something to think about when you go on, do we have the website?
Yeah, but can I just, so wait,
Please, go
before
ahead.
you go, so the logistics are, 'cause I'm
Sure.
all about the logistics, I have to like see it and visualize it. So how this works is, application gets accepted, you can either take an open registration or you can have your connection. Once you make the connection, I Zoomed, we talked about it, we talked about what they would need, they looked at my CV, even something that I did not put on there, but they looked and they saw that I have published, when I was doing my master's, instruction manuals on public speaking, and that I teach public speaking to the freshmen every fall. That's not something I'd ever put in my Fulbright, but they're like, do you think you could also give some lessons to our undergraduates and graduates about giving presentations in English, in conferences? I was like, sure. So I say that because that's not something I put in the application, but we kind of had a partnership of what they need versus what I could do. So once that's done, their institution needs to also apply to be accepted as an institution to host a Fulbright. So they have to reach out to their campus and their office so they can put this application in. So then the government in Germany said, yes, you are allowed to host a Fulbright. Once that happened, you work with the United States, they do your airfare and you get a per diem while you're there. You then get also $100 of travel. So it ends up being a per diem of $200 a day for however many days you're there, which includes weekends. So it's the time you leave to the time that you get back. However, if you also want to stay to travel a little bit, you can do that. They don't pay for that, but they will work with you on your flight for that, which I thought was an important thing. And then the host, this is why they have to get approved from their government. They pay for your lodging and your food allowance. So these are for me, I'm all about like the details because I have to know what I'm getting, you know what I mean? And so I just wanted to throw that out so you kind of understand. It was great when I got it, but then I thought, what am I doing? Like it was a little, I felt like I had Mary Lou, but I was sort of figuring it out as I was going along, and there was some uncertainty there. So I wanted to throw that out. That's how it works.
And what's really beautiful about it is it's the US Embassy and then the embassy in that country that provides the guidance. Because the host institution must also really advocate for you.
You have like a faculty sponsor, like a person that is
It's your person.
your person. Yes.
And that person is also doing all the paperwork for us.
Yes.
So you really want someone who really, really is willing to advocate and then do the paperwork, because that paperwork has to be by their embassy and then the match occurs. It's like speed dating, except that it's, you know, you can go to any country, but at the end of the day, somebody has to stay at the table.
Yeah.
And date you.
Yeah.
So it's really important to know that they have to fulfill their role as well. The US Embassy is very keen on your safety. You have to, you know, let them know when you arrive. I was not in the safest state or safest country and city. Johannesburg is very unsafe, and they wanted to know when I arrived and where was I, and was I in the gated faculty community, which I was. So, and I was not allowed to leave the premises at all.
Yeah, I didn't
because of the safety. So, you know, these are areas when you choose to go to some areas that might be a little bit more challenging. As we know, the United States Embassy is responsible for us. So there's a certain safety in that. I really like that part of the collaboration is that the country, the host country and the US Embassy are really working together. They are required to put the application in, the host country, as well as do a follow-up. So I just got my evaluation and what I contributed to the country of South Africa in many provinces. So they have to evaluate us as well. So it really is meeting of the minds, number one, meeting objectives, number two, and then really coming to what was the deliverable? What did we do for impact? And what are we doing for sustainability? So already they're planning for me to head back, not necessarily on a Fulbright, but on another grant that I actually worked on for part of my time there that could fund me getting back next year. So, you know, so mine's very different, is that I've had a long-standing relationship.
And mine might not be. Mine might
She
be.
may not go back, but
Yeah.
that's okay because she did her job, she contributed, she trained, she also edited PhDs. We got surveys, as some of you might have, from some of her PhD faculty that you were working with. And so it really becomes a community, which is really
My Fulbright became very different one. So these are just the two questions. So you couldn't just see that it's the application process is not in depth. It's 1,500 words for both questions. I mean, it is not a very, and I'm willing to share my mine as a sample, like I did with Donnie. So
and mine as well.
anyway,
Have both of my
and Mary Lou's going to show you her pictures. I have mine put up too, but if we get to it. But what I wanted to say is, they had never had somebody there as a Fulbright before in that capacity. So I always say it's kind of like when I send an intern to a site for the very first time, you're kind of figuring it out as you go along. With that comes a little bit more flexibility, but also more uncertainty. So there were lots of days that I would go in and I'd be like, well, what do you need me to do? And I do have to preface, one of the things that I took from this is a total side note, is that it was very interesting seeing the cultural difference between how they value people in our positions. Because finally, at one point, they said, you're our guest. We're just happy that you're here. And I kept saying, what more can I do? What more can I do? What more can I do? Because I felt like I wasn't like earning my keep. Because I've been here for 23 years. So I had to stop because finally she was like, and one day it was like a Friday, none of them were coming in. She goes, just go down to France, like take the train and go down for a half an hour ride to Wissenberg. I was like, what? It was so mind-blowing. So, but in the same token, of course, I wanted to give back. So what I came to realize is one of the biggest things that they needed was they publish in both German and in English. And as you and I both know, sometimes the translation is not, and they're clinical psychologists where I was in a clinic. So it was very rigorous statistics. So I was a person who could understand statistics. So I could read a research article and understand what I was reading and still be able to pick out where you're not translating the word right or something doesn't make sense. For instance, they had a survey and they translated it into English and it said, I delegate my strenuous activity because I'm in pain or something like that. I said, we would never say the word delegate like that. Just would not. They're like, well, no, like you gave it over to, I'm like, I know, but that would not be the word. So it was like, due to my pain, I'm unable to do I'm unable to do like household things, like go to the grocery store, walk up the steps, or kind of like some of that. So other people have to do it for me. They're like, oh, okay. Because we would never say I delegate. That just wouldn't be a word that we would use. I probably edited a dozen surveys and over 36 manuscripts. Between 25 to 50 to 60 pages of a whole research article, which was nice because I could also do that on my time. So when I couldn't sleep because of the time change, I was editing at the middle of the night or, and my host faculty, she's like, yeah, I don't come in until 10 or 10:30. I was like, okay, well, I'm already going to have about 5 hours of my day done by then because I wake up at 5 in the morning, normal time. So I had a very different experience. I hope to continue in certain ways, but probably not anything to Mary Lou's magnitude. So I guess I want to preface that it's okay to do your 4 weeks to maintain contacts, but then think this may not go anywhere either. It may or may not, but I don't know that yet.
And we've had a number of Fulbright faculty here. So I just want to say that,
I know
our
Kristen,
Fulbrights, yes.
okay,
yes,
you
yes.
do your pictures.
I will say that, we want to help to support the opportunities, because there is nothing greater than to have a Fulbright, and in my case and in Tara's case, to extend time in traveling and
Bringing your family.
bringing our families, because both of my children have been with me on my Fulbrights. So I feel really fortunate. And some host countries where I was, they're so gracious that they gave Maddie and Danny a personal assistant.
Yeah.
Danny learned photography.
That's it.
Yeah,
Only Mary
personal
Liz.
assistant.
Only Mary
They,
Liz
like
had
they
to
said,
get
I'm
it.
so sorry we have you so booked to do these trainings, that we're giving Danny a personal assistant. He went mountain climbing, rock climbing. This is a kid who's very active, and he learned photography. So they gave him an assistant. I was like, wait, we're living here.
When you came home, did he ask you about continuing with it?
Yeah, so that's, yeah, I was like,
yeah.
God, I'm getting ripped off here.
I just absolutely loved every moment. So I do just want to point out that you know, the institutional connection, like I said, in Tara's case, it might be just a one-time experience, or maybe continue, and it may, you know, it may be the rest of your lifetime, which is really, really exciting. What I find, though, is the spontaneity of being asked to present at conferences that I didn't know I was prepared for. So there was a conference that and by the way, that's Helen, who I literally sent the email on why hasn't the United States been
Helen has stayed at my house.
Helen, and then Helen,
Here.
talk about the exchange is, Helen, who was the head of the department, actually did her sabbatical with us. So she did she came here.
Mary
lived
Lou
with
left
me.
her with me for a day and a night.
Right.
She's like, here, she wants to have a stats consulting.
She needed a stats consultant. And so Helen did a month-long sabbatical living with our family, and then spent time here at Stockton. And you know, there we are. So these are just, I just want to point out, a simple email can yield that. And then all the activities, since it was really cancer oriented, cancer rehab oriented. This is the team that I traveled with the Minister of Health. I got to travel with the incredible Minister of Health, and that is Lawrence up there. And you know, it's really interesting. One of the most amazing training responses by oncologists that we would interact with was, our country has great policies. We have it here in the United States. We have wonderful, lofty, healthy people 2030. We have, you know, in South Africa, South African policy for palliative care and cancer. How many times do we hear from physicians that said, great policy, no resources? Yeah. So the globe suffers from this, right? So this is some of the examples of patients that I worked with out in villages. And the one thing that I found so powerful is the integration of the traditional healer and acculturating to that, and living in this village to be part of this was such a powerful experience. And then when I returned to the university, because this is out in rural areas, I said to our team, this is our missing partner. Because we're getting patients in late stages because they're seeing the traditional healer first. So I did learn how to, you know, grind my maize. I mean, I got right down and into it. And you know what? It's just a rich experience, because the mutuality of learning is really just priceless. So, you know, everywhere we go, we see the beauty of each country, and certainly sunrise and sunsets are stunning in this country. So I think that might just very well be it.
There's your giraffe. There's your friend.
You know, Tara's my running partner here on campus. And I went running in rural South Africa, and then literally came this close to a giraffe. You know, and he just stared at me, literally stared at me, and I took a picture. So it was just pretty.
I need to put my vineyards here then.
Yes.
I went, and then I was like, what are you known for? They're like, there's vineyards all around. Like, we were in the wine region, like the wine region of Germany. I was like, oh, isn't that nice? It was like, so yeah, giraffes. There was just lots and lots and lots of vineyards, and lots and lots of wine.
There we go. So I want to make sure that we have time
Questions.
to, you know, this is more, we want to make it more interactive. We could even go to the website. Why don't we pull up the website, or you can pull up the website, go on to, let's just do.
Let me see if I
Let's just
can
pull
hold
that
on.
up. Because we want to be able to maybe make this a little bit of a working workshop. And if you were to dream, let's dream where you want to be and what you would bring to any particular country.
Specialist.
Let's make it happen.
Fulbright
So let's
Specialist.
take a little bit of working. So let's go to the website.
Hold
Here
on,
we
let
are.
me share the
Yeah, why
screen
don't you
again.
share
Hold
this
on.
right
Oh,
here.
I don't move that quickly, Mayor. Sweet Pea.
I love that picture.
I can run with you. I just am not great of a navigator on the
There we go.
web, on the
There
okay.
we go.
there
We're
we go.
sharing it with
Okay.
our Zoom
I
participants.
think we
too.
are.
Oh,
I think we
fantastic.
are. So
Love
then it's learn more. So here's the Fulbright,
Yeah,
learn
so
more.
let's get them on here. So it's FulbrightSpecialist.worldlearning.org. I do want to let you know, since 2014, it's now a new organization that oversees this. After my first Fulbright, I had to go to Washington DC and present to an entire consortium of individuals.
Now
Not
you
so-
submit a
yeah,
report.
just a
So
report.
there's a report, again, just some questions, not like a big, they have it really streamlined. And then you can add, like I added a PowerPoint with all the pictures and like detailed what I did. But I actually had to send it to them separately because it was such a big file. I couldn't even upload it. So they don't want this astronomical amount of information. They ask very pertinent questions of what you've done. There is an interview halfway between. I didn't put that in there, but they will contact you and set up a Zoom halfway in between to check on you. So that was nice. Are any problems? Are things going well? That kind of thing that for me was sort of just routine because everything was going fine. But you don't have to present any longer. It's just a report that you submit. So here's the apply now.
There we go.
So
So everybody get on, do you have your computer?
so you
Just
can
so that
see
you
where
can
it
hear all
says host institution, that's where your institution would do it. And here's where you would
There's the
actually the
application.
online application.
So let's, if you didn't bring your computer, that's all good. Yeah.
So we're gonna host institution.
Now you go
No, no, no,
to
you need
just,
to get the application needs to be submitted first.
Okay.
Then,
you're here.
it goes in, and then you can dream and have fun looking at various host institutions that might be already part of the Fulbright connections, or you can make your direct connection.
These specialist programs are great because they make the time.
It's
Yes.
2 to 6
I
weeks.
kept thinking that.
Here's the
it took 6 months.
No,
no, that's where I
That's
was.
the
Yeah.
scholar, that's why we're
That's
making
right.
that distinction
And
between
you
scholar.
carry your applications?
Yes, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, so but here it is, it's, so here, look, at the online application portal, this is where you would start the application. But like I said, it's just, obviously there's demographics that you have to fill out, like your name, all that kind of stuff. But the 2 questions that I had on the PowerPoint slide are the 2 questions that you had to answer. That is basically how I guess they evaluate your application. Now, Donna, you did that, right? It's still the 2 questions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still in I just haven't had time to
No.
go through the list of like options.
Sure.
Or even try to connect with
Yeah.
people.
So
to
where
get-
Donnie is down, is she's in that, you probably get the emails every month that have open projects, so you get the emails that'll show
How do
you.
you get those? You sign up to?
No, once you're accepted, they automatically send them to you.
Okay.
Yeah, once you're accepted, they automatically send you and again, you have a 3 to 5 years to use or to do your matching and to go.
So to be considered for acceptance, they have to receive the application.
Yes,
That's the 1,500 word essay.
yeah,
That's it.
yes,
And
and
that's,
some demographics.
Yeah.
and that's what's so beautiful about it. Short, it's sweet, it's concise, including the concise trip duration, 2
Yeah, yeah.
weeks. Unlike scholar is that longer period of
Yeah.
time. So it's a specialist, you're bringing a specialty area to a part of the region of the globe that you will upscale at some level or impact pedagogically, curriculum, programmatic wise, accreditation wise, it's multifactorial. And I do think that it is important because you can see that, as Tara mentioned, there were many requests for projects that we didn't necessarily match to. You know, I just happened to be really lucky to create this continuity over 2 decades.
This is part of I was in a psychology program. I actually thought of so many of our psychology faculty that I thought, oh, I need to hook them up. I mean, they had 30 doctoral students in each track. They had a whole clinic. They saw patients. It was full-blown psychology. And it only was because the person that I had gotten assigned to initially, she ended up going on sabbatical, so then I got put to a different part of psychology. So really, there's an overlap with public health and statistician with almost any field, but this wasn't, the one in Australia was what I had proposed to do. Like it was public health, it was an education, like they wanted to learn how to be CHES certified. They did community health education, which is what I proposed to show them how to do partners and community health education. This was really not what I proposed. But again, you also have to think is the university is, most universities aren't necessarily, it's no skin off of their back because it's coming from their government. And especially in Germany, as George knew, the government funds the whole university system and you don't even pay as a student.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and back to my mentality of in the beginning thinking like, am I doing enough? Like finally she was like, stop, this is a win-win in both cases because, our government is accepted you. So even though the university was the vehicle, it was the government that really was sponsoring me, their government in Germany. Now, again, that could be different for, as we know, the government pays for the education.
Came out of the grant from the German institution I was with.
Yes, so you had a grant, same thing, you had a grant. So I think there can be flexibility, I guess, is what I'm
Absolutely.
saying
And
in
that's the beauty.
what you're doing, how much you're doing. Yeah.
And I think what's important to note is the significant experience in your respective field, professional, academic, or artistic achievements. That's your poetry writing. That is, there's so much richness. Your music, I mean, just,
What did you propose, Donnie, in your proposal?
Because you have so many.
No,
There's so
because
many.
I'm wondering, I think I might have focused on some DEI stuff, but
Which-
I have to look it up.
And I just think about.
So I guess some of us, it could be a numerous things, like you're proposing one thing, but because we all do so many different things.
Yeah.
You're UN,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
gotta
you would
find
be
it.
brilliant for,
there is a lot
the
of
UN engagement that you have brought our students in. So you might upscale a country in how to do what you do so well with our students and
Yeah.
model and all that.
Yeah, you could literally say that's the
That's it.
project,
That's
and you're gonna go show a college or a university how to do what you do here.
It's just so, you already are rocking it there, so I think.
There's
what
a
would be-
question online.
Oh.
How do you manage communication in a country that doesn't speak English? I mean, were you fluent
Okay.
in German?
No. So
Right, that's a good.
that's a very good question, because I'm gonna show my, that's one of the reasons I went to Australia first, because I felt like I would be more comfortable with the country that I spoke the language. So again, my thought process is that if I'm proposing that I'm a specialist or an expert, and then I'm going to a country that I don't speak their language, I felt like that put me at a disadvantage, and that's just my personality. So, but then I was reassured, and both Zooming with them and being there, they all speak English, like they are not like us. The only time that I encountered and I was also in 9 different countries here and there when I was over there. I went to a very rural part of Germany to visit someone that we knew, a friend of the family, and had to take my daughter to an urgent care type of thing. And the secretary at the hospital did not speak English. And I thought, but the person sitting next to me very quickly jumped in and said, she won't speak English, but the doctor will, you'll be totally fine. Thank you. So I think clearly if you're going to a university type of setting, there will be enough enough of the people who work there, staff, students, faculty will speak English. You just have to realize that if you're then traveling in other places that might not be the case. I never felt, although I intentionally talked much slower when I was there. I never
Wow,
felt like,
Tara.
I know, it was really hard for me. I consciously made an effort every time I spoke to speak slowly. Their language was not a British.
You
And
get
to that
spoiled.
point, to Emery's point, that when you get your project possibilities, they send them out every month once you're accepted. They will be very explicit, must teach the medical curriculum in Spanish if it's in Colombia, right? So they'll be explicitly saying that you need the dual language. Otherwise, you will not, the request is someone that could speak in the native language. So that's why they will identify those in the possible venues. So you wouldn't then put your name in the pool of specialists to go to Columbia if you weren't fluent. So that gives you that nice caveat when you have possibilities there. And George, you were gonna say something. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to finish Emery's
We
question.
do get spoiled because English is spoken everywhere. I've been a visiting professor 4 times, 3 times in Shanghai, China, where I taught management courses to students who all understood English. I understand 0 in Chinese, and I speak 0 in German,
And you were
they
just-
all understood. I did have to sit through many meetings that were all in German, except for when I was introduced. And
Yes, me too. I did have that.
They turned their this language into English, but we do get spoiled.
I did find what it was DEI.
Was it DEI?
Yeah, so we'll see. I still haven't reached out to anybody.
She hasn't reached out to anybody, but her,
Her apply in general for the.
she just has so many
Yeah.
specialties. I didn't know if it was media, if it was film, if it,
It was.
but she said it was DEI.
Now I wish it was media or film now.
Oh, clearly not. I'm not even, I wasn't even wedded to the.
Actually, that's what's really hard about this very short succinct essay. If you think about it, you can actually highlight up to 5 specializations, which you have.
Yeah.
You chose one, because
Okay.
in
I
reality.
know, I should focus
Right,
on my
editing it a
media
little.
or film, but anyway.
Yeah, the beauty of it is, someone may still pick up your CV and
Well,
find as they
wait,
did in Paris, and say,
actually-
do you mind?
No, I'm gonna
doing-
tell you this is exactly, because that's the
Yeah.
second time I did it. They didn't look at my application.
It was the CV.
They asked me to send over the questions and my CV. And they came up with the things that they wanted me to do, which some were and some weren't. So you're not wedded. You might have gotten the Fulbright based on what you wrote, but what I did and what they agreed on, and what they wrote to their government was a bigger version of what I mean, this is a lot different than what I.
But to Donnie's point, and to the points that we wrote very specifically, when you have 1,500 words, how can you put all 5 specializations in? That's why the CV actually is the complementary piece. I actually would say getting a bit more focused about what you feel as though you can deliver and deliver.
Will help you
well,
get the Fulbright, yes,
to get your
yes.
Fulbright specialist to then get on the roster, and then the match is between the 2 parties and, the opportunity to meld your expertise, the 5 of them, to surprisingly what, they didn't know until they looked at your CV. But I think the essays have to be tight,
Yeah.
succinct,
Yeah.
clear, what would be my deliverable. So I think that's what's really important, and you'll see our.
But my deliverable and what my report said were probably 2
Totally
very
different.
different things, and it was all okay, is where I was
And
going.
mine was a deliverable and then some, more so, like, so.
Such an overreach.
No, not at all, but my goal was to have boots on the ground to make sure that if this is my last Fulbright, this is, you only get two of these. Only 2. 2 specialists, you only, yeah,
Oh, I
right?
can do this
Because
again.
I should move aside, you get to do it again. But
You
you
can
can
have
have
a scholar one now.
Yeah, that's what I told her. I told her she could do
Yeah,
the scholar one.
right.
This point, you could do,
There we
yeah,
go.
that's, you could do the scholar.
Just see the beauty of this, it's just great, and the richness of living up to 6 weeks in a country, and then, bringing family and just opening up horizons. I look at your daughter here, she could just fly with you wherever you go, and.
Or if you're married,
know,
she could fly by
and then
herself.
you Get her a personal assistant.
Right, that, the personal assistant, yeah.
So it's only the next country.
Yeah,
So you have to choose summer
No, you really, because like with, so that's a great question, because
Right.
that also was my issue, because I had kids in school. So what was great about Germany, and as George can attest, is that their system is a little bit different. So they go until the end of, at least in Germany, there's 12, 13 different states. They all take their 6 weeks differently. It varies because there's such, they make up 50% of the tourists in Europe because of their economy. So they cannot have everybody go on vacation at the same time, which I thought is ingenious. Yes. So it varies, but the university that I went to went till the end of July. So then they were doing August and 2 weeks in September is their 6 weeks. So it worked out perfectly for me because my daughter graduated on the 14th. I left on the 18th and I was there till the 14th, 16th, the mid-July. So I did 4 weeks. I guess I could have done another 5 or 6, but like 5 would
Your
just.
spring semester went from middle of March.
Yes.
Till the end of July.
Yeah, so that works out for us, because then you can finish teaching here in May and still have May, June, and some of July, depending on the country. So that's what you have to look at. And even like Australia, that was actually, it was harder to pinpoint Australia because their summer is in the winter.
Yeah.
And their, you know what I mean? So our winter break would not have worked out. Even our spring break was right when they were first starting back. So it really depends on where you're going.
But to your question, you could also consider the semester break as well, if
Yes,
it's
you
been
could take a
aligned.
sabbatical,
You could
and
take-
yes, you could do a sabbatical from here and go there.
Right.
I
Do that,
yeah.
if you choose, you could use this.
My house would fall
Fulbright
apart.
Specialist as your sabbatical.
You have to apply for sabbatical.
Sure.
could.
I would actually get the Fulbright first,
Do you know
then
who did
apply.
that? I think Kristen Jacobs.
I think Kristen
Jacobson.
did, right.
I think,
Well,
I
think she
know
did.
she did a Fulbright, and I don't want to misspeak, but I also know that she had a sabbatical. I feel like they aligned, so that might be something that you want to ask her. But Mark Berg in psychology also did a Fulbright. I don't know when he did it. And it could have been over the summer because he went to New Zealand or Australia because he went to school there. I'm totally, yeah, this is maybe not all correct, but it's something like that. The story
I'm
is,
thinking of Robin Pakistan.
he also did.
So is the school going to automatically grant you?
No,
No.
you would still have to
You
apply for
still
the
have to get
sabbatical.
Emily Van Dyne
Yes, she's
took her
the other one.
sabbatical in Greece for her Fulbright.
That's right.
Until they applied, right, so that hers was a scholar.
Hers was a scholar,
They're not.
because it was a 6 months, so she could do summer into fall.
But see, I think that's the beauty of it, that you don't have to take a sabbatical, because if somebody, I don't think I can't, not that I can't, I guess I'm gonna start to be able to, but when I was applying for this, I would have never applied also for a sabbatical. I just don't, my
Duration.
family and lifestyle doesn't work with that right now. But I didn't have to, because it's only 2 to 6 weeks, and you could work it out
Specialist.
between winter break or May, June, July. But if you could, I mean, you can.
I just want to make sure that we answer any of the questions that might be from our Zoom team here. We're getting some questions here and having a conversation.
Deadline for.
Is there anything in the chat?
It's a rolling, the application,
See here.
that's
I
a
love it.
great,
Thank you so much.
thank you, whoever asked that question. That is a great question. It's a rolling application, so you just, like I said, I submitted mine in
Please feel free. to
maybe
put in
the end
chat.
of May-ish, middle, end of May, right when Fawn. I actually think it was still May, and I heard in August. So that I felt like was pretty, that was.
It is a quick turnaround.
No,
Yeah,
in
that was-
2019, I was in Yellowstone. It was funny, I was in Yellowstone. I hadn't even told my husband that I applied for it, but I told my daughter, and we were in Yellowstone. I'm like, "That's what I got." She was like, "Yes." And my husband's like, "What?" I was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I applied for a Fulbright."
It's so great.
That's so our house. You're on a need to know basis, buddy. I need to know right now.
You in 2019.
I applied 2019, May of 2019. By the way, I heard by August.
Wow.
Yes.
And then I heard soon thereafter, and then COVID hit, and so we all got that extra year delay, for the 5-year stint.
So when you make a connection to do your own, because I just looked at the roster.
Yeah,
and
that's
nothing
what I
on
said.
there.
You
So
really do
I'm
have to.
obviously gonna have to make a connection.
Yeah.
Sure.
So when you make a connection, right, and let's say you know, University of Ghana or something.
Right.
I make a connection, and what do they have to do then?
What they have to do is firstly understand who is their Fulbright officer for
Somebody in
the
their
university.
has-
Usually
Yes,
it's in
there's
the,
somebody.
they have,
Global stuff.
they have to have in their country the global officer that will then receive you.
So they have to reach out to
They
their
do.
Fulbright person
That's correct.
to get the ball rolling.
That's
So
correct.
you called me
Oh.
and we had a conversation and I was like, nice to meet you. I think this is great. This is gonna work for me. I'm gonna type up a little thing about what specifically you're, based on your application, your CV, we talked. Here's a description of what you're gonna do for me for 4 weeks. I then go to Mary Lou, she's in our global office, and I say, hey, Mary Lou, I have this opportunity, here's my stuff. Mary Lou then does the application to be the host to their Fulbright. That little host, remember when George was saying, which one do you click host? They have to fill out the same application.
Okay.
Then the Ghana, their government comes back to Mary Lou and says, yes, we will accept Dr. Allison. And then she tells me, and then I call you and I say, okay, great, things are good.
The
Oh,
speed
okay.
dating.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
speed dating. That's the way I call it. I couldn't come up with a better analogy, but it is like speed dating because you're figuring out if the match is gonna be optimized.
Could you like reach out to Fulbright?
I did do that,
and
yes.
ask?
I actually did that because before I went to Virginia, I looked up Germany because I knew my daughter was gonna be there and all of the connections we had. So I started with Germany. I actually did do that and I think I got about 6 different schools that were similar, that would have public health expertise. I crafted an email and I emailed 6 to 8 cold calls, like, I have this Fulbright, here's my thing, here's what I can offer you, do you have any interest? In the meantime, I went down to Virginia and got this other interest, but I did have 2 out of the 6 or 8 people contact me back and say, I am interested, can we explore this further? I just didn't need it, so yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So there's many.
I was getting
avenues
desperate, as
to
you can
get
tell.
to get the date. There's many ways to get there. And so it's really how creative you wish to be and where you would love to be. To both grow personally and professionally, because every time, even though I go back to the same country, this is my 6th time. I was in deep rural South Africa in different provinces that I wasn't, my visit is different every time. So I get to have a sort of ever evolving experience. And the other feature is, you know, it's very interesting. I have a primary appointment here at Stockton. I'm a visiting professor there. And for every one of my publications, even if I did not do it with a colleague in South Africa, when I put the University of Witwatersrand, Johannesburg, South Africa, on my manuscripts, they get 1,000 United States dollars from their government going into their research fund.
Wow.
So for all my publications, so I am after all these
As
years,
a reference or as an offer?
as
She put
So,
Stockton
I
and
put-
that, she puts
And,
both.
and so what happens, there have been times that you could only use one affiliation. As much as I want to keep Stockton, I know they need the money.
Right.
So actually what goes on is University of Witwatersrand. Because I know that I'm contributing to their research funds so that they can be sustained. So it is really interesting. So if you do get a really deep relationship and an ongoing relationship, there are some amazing, and I had no idea. So when I arrived, there were all my publications on the wall. I was stunned. But that's because it was how many thousands of dollars
Right.
that came in to the university.
Because they
were-
actually
they
appreciated
actually,
you.
yeah.
Oh. What?
So, you know, I was kind of overwhelmed. I did not know that that's what I was gonna see, the wall of.
But I've actually,
So.
I sat on someone's dissertation for you from there
Yes.
for a student, because you couldn't do it for some reason, and they needed an outside person, and I said, I'll just do it. So I read
Right.
somebody's dissertation there, all
That's right.
400 and 500 and some pages of it, and sat on their committee.
Sat on the committee, so
Somebody
there's
there.
so many wonderful, it's just the gift that keeps on giving, this Fulbright journey. I love everything about it, and I just feel as though to whatever degree we can help you have this opportunity. I will say, as Donnie's experiencing, oh my gosh, I applied, I got it, and now there is work when there isn't the sort of easy project
Okay,
that
so,
emerges.
yeah,
every
I'm gonna
month.
just,
Yeah.
I'm gonna, just real quick. I do feel like it was a year
Yeah,
of-
oh, easy
of
work
this kind
to
of,
make it happen.
yes, between the Zoom calls, the following up. So somebody asked, we have an ongoing, so this is something else. If you know specifically what country you want to do, or once you Zoom with them, please look up their deadline, because while we do not have a deadline, host countries do have a deadline. It was one of the reasons
Mm.
that it was gonna take me to get to 2021 in Australia, not 2020, which probably wouldn't have happened anyway. Because we missed Australia's deadline. Because theirs was like, so I Zoomed with the people, say in the fall, like I got it in August of 2019. By that fall, I was Zooming with somebody in Australia. But we had missed the deadline to be a host, so they had to wait all the way until the following year to be a host institution for their application. So, and I know with Germany, the same thing. Thank goodness I looked it up, because theirs was October 31st. So I started Zooming with them, say like, they got back to, because they're on vacation. So I started talking to them in September. By October, when we were trying to finalize things, I was like, oh, but by the way, your application is due by the end of this month. So they had to quick get something in.
Here's a couple tips. You don't have to complete it in one sitting. It's not going to be easy to craft a very concise essay, right? Note that the application time will be about 2 hours. But again, you want to think of all your 5 potential deliverables, which one would uniquely position you to receive the specialist. When you get online to do it, firstly, what I recommend, like, with Tara and I, we used Fawn Time to write up the application and then have someone edit it. We're happy to edit. We're happy to provide whatever perspective you want from an outsider point of view. And then what happened to the other little?
I don't know, I'm sorry, I clicked out of yours because I wanted Emery. I'm sorry, I was trying to go to the,
But I think the last feature was, of course, your CV. For some of you, you have very long CVs. It's only 10 pages. So if you notice that as well. it's
do we have a
not
list of all the
recraft
participants?
your
Because if
CV
we
that
have
might
the,
be
if I have a list of who's been here,
So I just want to
I
make
can
sure
email
that that's
everybody.
another feature, because the essays take about 2 hours. But then the CV is the thing that you
Okay.
have to bring down.
Word, and then
that's what I did.
Yeah.
I did it on Word. But
Yeah.
Donnie, Emery's so kind as to tell me who's in the session here and online. I will email everybody my questions, my answers. If you have yours, and if Donnie has hers, then you have 3 different people.
Yes.
Yeah, they're, oh my God, you are all, you have,
don't come and paste it.
no, I'm going to, I'll just upload my Word document. I have the 2 answers on a Word document. I'm assuming Donnie and Mary, they probably. I don't know if I have yours, but I'll look.
Maybe not the second one.
I don't, but I'll at least send you mine. At least whoever I have an email for that I know was here, I'll send you my 2 answers.
And then what I'll do is I'll add mine, just
Okay.
put me in the.
But it also be easy if, let's say, we submit a CV. And then you take a look at the potential for.
Oh, so you're saying, you would want us
Yeah.
to look at your CV,
Like,
what
are
is the
the areas
potential?
that, what do you
But
think
what's your
about that?
passion? See, so I always say, I could look at your CV and then I may highlight, but what's your passion? And I would prefer to see us writing from that place of, from the heart and
Okay.
the thing you love doing, because you just exude it when you're in that
Okay,
country.
so my application was basically, I was advocating to show people how to do community health research and get partners out in the field. So when I had to dwindle my CV down, I left all that community stuff in the CV. Like I took out some stuff that had nothing to do with community partners, because I thought, well, they don't, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that I did that had nothing to do with community partners. So if you're trying to narrow down your CV, and cut things out, throw out the stuff, highlight the stuff that you're advocating as part of what you're proposing to do.
Support the essay
But
as evidence. Do you have a question? Thinking.
I'm-
Or maybe
oh,
thinking
am I-
about passive
is there
voice.
any chats? Did we answer all the people?
No,
Because I
Christine.
probably didn't.
Christian.
The list that,
like Donnie was looking at, those are the hosts that have been accepted for projects. Or the people that have been.
No,
The
accepted.
list that she gets
that's
are
the
lists
list
looking
that-
for
Right.
individuals that are on the
Current, it's called,
roster.
yeah,
Current.
current open projects. So like, for example, there's stuff here, there's a couple for business administration, right?
Right.
So you would just, if you've already been accepted, you just click this button that says submit interest. Right, and so that could be, right, but it-
Are these hosts that have been accepted?
Yes,
by-
they already, yeah, so they don't have to do
They don't
this.
have to do what
Yes.
Karen had to create was the process for their side to administratively
Right.
host her.
Yes.
Right.
When you're already
You have an open project,
established,
it's already established.
then you're good to go.
Yeah,
You
and
have
I
to
just
like
couldn't find
backside.
any, nothing, you know, I was looking for like a year over, every time it would come. I would
yeah, so
get it,
that's
I'd
my
say,
next step, and I know
it's-
it's gonna
none of
take
this, so I kind of, I accepted that that was not gonna be the way in which I could do it, I was gonna have to find somebody.
But those are the
Yeah,
hosts
there's
that done the
nothing on
paperwork.
That's
They've
right.
already
They've
done
already
it,
done
it's an open project, so if your specialty meets with them,
You're good to go.
it's much easier.
And there's a lot of business, a lot of economics, a lot of, you know.
Yeah, there's.
So you- yeah.
Education.
Yeah, a
public
lot.
health.
Public health is in there. That's
Yes.
all of that is there.
We got
So.
another meeting.
I
sorry.
do.
Absolutely.
But
Wow, this is
I
great. Thanks,
I was
Laura.
gonna say, I will send out an email and I'll
Wow,
start it with
this
my
is great.
answers and then if Donnie
Fantastic.
wants to add her
It's
answers. and Mary
exactly
wants to
12
add
o'clock.
her
Thank you,
answers.
everyone, for joining us on Zoom.
And I
We
think
appreciate that.
I think we answered Rachel's question.
Did we answer
But
that?
but I actually zoomed with Rachel when I was in Germany about a stats question, back to Kathy, and we don't have a stats person. So Rachel reached out to me about an article about stats, and I said, sure, but we have to do the time because I was in Germany. Then I
That's
was
right.
telling her about the
Thanks,
Fulbright.
Helen.
So I saw that she was in here. She's like, oh, I'm really interested. I was like,
This is
I
wonderful.
think actually it was her that gave me the idea, because then soon after you sent the email having actually, maybe it was the same night, you sent the email for a call for this, I was like, well, we should do this. Cause I just spent
Great,
all this
yeah,
time
no,
talking
why
to
not?
Rachel about it on the.
We want,
the
we want